In the past, fatness was often celebrated and seen as a sign of wealth and prosperity. Before the Enlightenment, particularly during the Renaissance, curvaceous physiques were prized and voluptuous women were thought to be the epitome of beauty. The Enlightenment brought about a significant shift. With the rise of reason, rationality, and a growing focus on self discipline, the ideals of beauty and body image began to change. The era promoted ideals of order, restraint, and self control. Fatness began to be seen as a sign of excess and a lack of self discipline, which was increasingly viewed as undesirable and even morally problematic. In Fearing the Black Body, the racial origins of phobia, Sabrina Strings walks us through the entangled relationship between anti-fatness and anti-blackness. She explains how, as the slave trade grew in the 18th century, there was a shift in expectations for how different races should look. There was a need to differentiate white bodies from the black bodies who were being so brutally enslaved. Enlightenment philosophers were not only concerned with defining racial differences, but also with promoting the ideal of a perfect and civilized European body. Thinness became a symbol of white purity and a way to establish a visual and a moral divide between black and white people. It was a sign of self-control, discipline, and moral superiority. In contrast, black people, particularly black women, were often depicted as the antithesis of this ideal. We were associated with physicality, indulgence, and excess. Being black often meant being portrayed as morally degenerate and incapable of achieving the ideal of thinness. European scholars claim that Africans were characteristically fat and indulgent in food and sex. African women were wild, uncontrolled savages, lacking temperance. This depiction reinforced the notion that we were inferior to white women, who were often portrayed as pure, temperate, and virtuous. Our bodies were unfit for the refined standards of femininity and civilization that colonial powers wanted to impose.